Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Telit webinar, The Advantages of Bundling IoT Modules and Connectivity. I'm Amanda Slink, the Head of Global Events here at Telit, and I will be moderating our webinar today. I want to start by introducing our speakers. To explain this topic today, I'm pleased to be joined by two speakers. First, we have Adam Cousin, Senior Technical Specialist at Telit. Hi, Adam. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Amanda.
Second, we've got Sean Rudnick, Director of Deal Management at Telit. Hi, Sean.
Hi.
Just before I hand it over to Adam to start our presentation, I do have a few quick reminders. I would like to encourage our audience to interact by posting questions. We will have time to answer some of those at the end of the presentation. Simply submit a question by posting in the box to the right of the slides that you see. Also, please be sure to check out the resources section in the upper right-hand corner of your screen for some additional information on today's topic. And finally, we will send out the replay link to all attendees at the conclusion of this webinar. Before we start, we would like to understand your interest in IoT modules bundled with cellular connectivity plans. If you could take a quick second and fill out the poll question, which you'll see on your screen now. And with that, Adam, I will hand it over to you.
Thanks, Amanda. All right, thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Telit and how our bundling solutions are going to accelerate your time to market. So 41.5 billion devices will be connected by the year 2025, and Telit helps connect a new device almost every second. Now, whilst that's impressive, it's not impressive enough because it's going to take maybe 1,300 years if we're only connecting a device every 1 second. So we need to hyperscale this somehow. And clearly, manual device onboarding is a thing of the past. We need to have autonomous zero-touch onboarding scenarios for devices. We need to make this stuff as light and easy as possible to deploy, especially at the scales we need to in order to hit these targets by 2025. Telit is at the forefront of the Connect and Managed to Scale initiative. Now, this particular initiative is the premise that devices at the edge, sensors, whatever they may be, like temperature, humidity, people counting, pet tracking, whatever that might be at the edge, the data has to get to the cloud somehow. Now, you can go out to market and you can, of course, find a mobile device, a cellular module, you can find an airtime provider, SIM card provider, you can find a cloud platform, and you can put all this stuff together and come up with a solution that works. But clearly, your business is not a specialist in doing this. Your business is a specialist in doing whatever it is you do, be it maybe sewer monitoring, or maybe you're doing air quality monitoring or something like this. So having a partner like Telit that can bring the essential elements of this together in order to provide a deliverable solution, which is somewhat turnkey, to be able to IoT enable your product at the edge, is fundamental. Clearly, we are well known in the market as a module vendor. We've been doing this for 20 years. We also have had SIM card technology for the last 10, 15 years now. And of course, cloud technology as well with our DeviceWise and now OneEdge platforms. These solutions, when brought together, provide a turnkey solution for you to be able to remotely enable your devices and the data to be sent to the cloud service of your choice. I'm going to pass you across to Sean now, who's going to explain a bit about the building blocks.
Thank you, Adam. So the building blocks, when we talk about a bundle, the question is, what is a bundle? So for Telit, we obviously specialize in our modules. We have our connectivity and lastly, our software and platforms. And what we've seen is obviously over the years, as the market progresses, there is more and more overlap and even integration of these components. So that's what we've focused on now for many years, is not just having world-class modules and leading connectivity solutions, a tremendous platform, but leveraging the strength of those individual items and then bundling that together. And there are different options, so depending on what your needs may be, bundling the module with the connectivity, bundling all three together, the value only increases the more you you add these components and mix them together. Some of the bundle features, if we try to take it at the highest level, there is a commercial component, a support element, and then the application itself, the technical component. So when we talk about support, really it starts with our know-how and just the fact that Telit has decades of knowledge, of know-how on all of these topics, the module, the connectivity, and lastly, our platform. So bringing that knowledge to market, combining it together in one place, I feel, again, bundling it together, it really offers tremendous value. So many times in any industry, when you deal with different specialists, everyone understands their piece of the puzzle. But rarely do you have an opportunity where you can have one person or one entity take a look and understand the whole puzzle. That saves a tremendous amount of time, money, headache. Whenever you run into an issue, and that's where things really matter. It's on the day-to-day, everything's going well, there's no concerns. The concerns begin as soon as something goes wrong. And then the question is, who do you turn to? Is it a hardware issue? Is it a connectivity, networking issue? And instead of chasing down the leads and trying to understand and get each party to take responsibility, here at Telit, we're actually able to take an approach where we look at your entire solution from A to Z. We're able to take ownership and responsibility. We're able to diagnose the problems more quickly. We're able to resolve them much more quickly. So we will happily work with partners all around the world, all in various industries. So Telit modules, connectivity from another provider, that's not a problem. But when you're able to take them all together from Telit, just on the support component, I want to start with, you have a tremendous value. And I think companies are best tested when something goes wrong. It's how quickly can we resolve it? How well are we able to resolve it? And when you talk about the commercial component, we also have a tremendous amount of flexibility. So depending on the financial model, if you're looking more at an OpEx model, CapEx model, we're able to really help you take advantage of tremendous cost savings when bundling the different products and services together. So I'll talk a little bit later about some of the additional cost savings when bundling our connectivity together with the application that we'll speak of in the coming slides, and even integrating the connectivity into the module. Adam, if you'd like to speak a little bit about this slide.
Of course, yeah, no problem at all. So just to touch on the application element there. So D-Tetronic is one of our clients, and it's a very interesting use case, and one I'm sure will resonate with a lot of people who are listening to this broadcast now. And really the brief here was a device that has to function below ground. The fundamentals of the product itself are monitoring sewer networks, and of course sewer networks are often the earliest indicator of potentially catastrophic flood events, and of course other such things as well. Sewers have been well known to be an indicator of the severity of potential outbreaks of viruses around the world as well. So a lot can be derived from a sewer, but they are not very friendly places when it comes to RF. And clearly, the newer LPWA technologies, Category M1, narrowband IoT, are best suited to provide the connectivity element to these systems. Now, the challenge around this is that the client themselves need the data to go to a particular cloud endpoint, which fundamentally is incompatible with the lightweight nature of narrowband IoT and Category M1. Now, these technologies present some challenges, amazing technologies when it comes to signaling capability in harsh environments, but not without cost. And that cost comes as latency. so the potential for very, very high latency. And of course, you end up with much lower bandwidth capability. Clearly, a TCP or a secure TCP connection is going to be completely untenable in this scenario. Notwithstanding that as well, the device has to operate from a battery, and that battery has to last for a certain amount of time as per service level agreements. And of course, what you can't have is the modem burning lots of power trying to get a signal out of the ground. So the brief here really is to keep the data as lean as possible, maintain a level of security, and really help this customer architect a solution which delivers what they need it to. In the end, all they really care about is getting the data points out of the ground. They don't want to be employing specialists in RF, specialists in antenna design, specialists that understand how narrowband IoT roaming agreements do or don't work, how power save mode or extended discontinuous reception work, or even the importance of architecting a cloud-based system that is scalable to the limitations of narrowband and Cat-M1, and also delivering device management. Because of course these things are in the ground, and things that are in the ground for decades are going to see some pretty fundamental change on the infrastructure. And that change can be either local change, it might be local radio towers that basically go down or change their broadcast, change their frequency, however that might change. The network infrastructure itself will be evolving. Narrowband and M1 are part of the long-term evolution infrastructure, LTE. So the clue is in the name. The infrastructure will evolve, and it will evolve towards 5G. And we have to make sure that these devices continue to signal on the infrastructure. And with any IoT application, there are two planes that you can access this edge technology. There's the application plane, and there's the control plane. And customers generally focus on the application plane because that's really where the data comes from. But the control plane is more important than ever. On 2G, on 3G, and even legacy 4G systems, the control plane is relatively well defined. The networks are well established, and of course, you've got billions and billions of mobile phones out there constantly sweating the infrastructure. With narrowband and M1, we don't have such luxury, and really on a deployment by deployment basis, it's fundamental these devices continue to function without a truck roll going to them. Because the minute a truck roll goes out and an engineer has to visit the site, all the cost savings, the nickeling and diming over the connectivity and the modem costs and everything else will go out the window, because that is a hundreds and hundreds of dollar event. So the merit here of combining the Telit hardware with the Telit connectivity and with the One Edge platform in a single consolidated approach was that we're able to offer this particular client the tools necessary to be able to not only keep tabs at the edge, but also really lean down the amount of data that this device has to transmit when something changes. And we've also architected some rather intelligent bulk data upload capability using lightweight M2M, which, you know, in its very essence, it overcomes serious power draw that other applications of a similar nature would suffer. So we were able to really help and consult with this client in bringing a solution to market. And this was done relatively quickly as well, certainly within 12 months. And this client, I think, had never developed their own cellular solution before. So anyone out there that has developed a cellular product, for your first time, 12 months is pretty good. I'm going to hand over to Sean for the next use case.
Thanks, Adam. ICL is a story that I really like to talk about a lot. It's an impressive company. It's an impressive solution. And I'm really proud of how much we were able to really help them achieve their goals and wishes. So we actually worked together with our partners at Paragon Innovations, who were instrumental in this application as well. First of all, what ICL actually is doing, this is container monitoring. So that's an industry where you have a tremendous amount of loss. I think it's in the hundreds of billions of dollars per year, really, due to the fact that obviously the cargo is just moving all over the world. So in some cases, it's risky because it's in transit, passing between various countries, ports, geographical territories, and then even sometimes at rest. It's equally as risky. The container is just sitting there. It's one of many. They all look quite similar. So it's the kind of solution that there's so many different components you need to consider when building this solution, and also building a solution that can separate itself from the other similar applications in the market. And iSeal has done that. So first of all, they were successful in building an incredibly small device, which in and of itself was already an achievement. This has a tremendous battery life given its size, and that's important when you're shipping something that may spend many months at sea or between various locations. It's actually mounted internally, which is also quite unique in this industry. Makes it a little more difficult to actually get your hands on the device and try to tamper with it. But there were a lot of challenges here. So one of the first challenges was the idea that these containers go all over the world, and different geographical areas have different needs from a technology standpoint, anywhere from 2G, 3G, 4G, all the way through LTE, narrowband IoT. And we were able to, using our NE910 family of modules, we were able to achieve their goals. No matter where these containers needed to go, we had them covered with one form factor that was able to meet all of the different connectivity technology needs. So using our connectivity, we're also able to cover well over 200 countries and territories with many hundreds of operators. So in any given country, it's usually going to be at least a few different options as far as connectivity providers, all through a single SIM. And another challenge that you often see in this industry is the fact that the container may, at different points, even with the best connectivity and a tremendous footprint, just crossing oceans and going in different areas, may lose connectivity. And that puts the shipment itself and the device at even greater risk because it can't communicate in real time to tell anyone what's going on, or to look backwards and try to understand what went wrong and when. But using our IoT portal, we were able to build all this in. So the device itself is computing at the edge, meaning at the device, there's computing happening, there's decisions being made, data being logged. So regardless of if the device is communicating or not to a cellular network, it's communicating within itself. Things as simple, it's not only theft, it could be temperature. Temperature monitoring can be crucial depending on what it is that you're transporting. That can make or break the delivery. So being able to track at the device level what the temperature is and alerting to any fluctuation, too high, too low, it's just another one of the examples of the challenges that we were able to solve here for our partners at iSeal. And of course, our Telit One Edge that we're so proud of, I mentioned earlier some of the benefits when it came to bundling. We spoke a little bit about the support, our know-how and experience. Of course, there's the commercial element that we discussed as well. And if we talk a little bit more on the technical or application level, it's almost endless benefit. There's just tremendous amount of benefit that I think, depending on who you are, what your application is, there are so many different ways that One Edge can help you. It starts with the zero-touch onboarding. So that's a huge time saver. And I don't know if it's equally as important that, you're saving time, ultimately saving money, but you're reducing the opportunity for error, and that's key. It's not just time it takes this up.
Zero touch is vital. We go back to that first slide, 41 billion devices by 2025. We'll be lucky to have 41 billion devices by 2025, unless we start embracing zero touch onboarding. It's deploying a device, it's powering it on, and it's truly having the device auto bootstrap to an application server where it can be personalized for the specific deployment it's intended for. So you have customer A, B, and C, and each have very different use cases. And actually, you don't want to be provisioning these devices in a factory, because really you want to be building one thing and just sending it out. And this one thing might have multiple sensor arrays on board, or may have different reporting structures depending on the application or the end customer. Being able to fundamentally influence the way that the device behaves based on either the customer requirement or the network capability or the device longevity, the battery life. There's many, many fundamentals that applications are going to be essentially driven by. And being able to build one and deploy many in the end is going to be the key to really hyperscaling IoT.
I think, Adam, and another analogy that may help people when we talk about the embedded security, you mentioned the personalization. It's like your bank sending you your ATM PIN separate from the card, try to keep the credentials, you get a username and your password comes separately, whether it's via email or traditional mail. And of course, that's smarter, but we can go a step farther and be even smarter here by never having to send the PIN at all and just coming straight out of the box.
It truly simplifies your manufacturing processes. I mean, you want to bootstrap your device to an application server, and normally during a manufacturing process, you'd have to somehow manage the key exchange. So your product would have to have a public-private key element, and you'd somehow have to get the private or the public key exchange element out of your device and into your cloud provider, and then manage that onboarding process. With a one-edge-enabled modem, it's an AT command. We've done all the heavy lifting work. We've already captured the private public key exchange element. We've already assigned it to the IMEI of the individual modem, and it's already known to the one-edge server. All we need to do is give you an org, so somewhere for your devices to appear within our server, and all you need to do is switch the modem on and bootstrap it to the server, which, as I say, is an AT command to do. So really and truly, it couldn't be any simpler. And then you open up and unlock the world of device management and remote firmware management and all the key elements of, the control plane management of your device at the edge, completely independent of the application layer. And this is the important bit. It can be completely independent of the application layer because that's your domain. That's your speciality. That's what you do as a business. What we do as a business is make sure these modems stay online and make sure they keep pumping the data where it needs to go.
I think we only shared a few use cases, and there's so many use cases, so many memories of different stories where we were able to solve challenges for the customer. I think that we were really proud of. So I'm just thinking of one we had recently where the devices were set in transit and erroneously connecting from the factory until their final destination at different airports. And no one could understand why that was happening. But thanks to our one edge capabilities, we were able to find out and query the device to understand that the device was just never shut off during the manufacturing phase. They had turned on for some testing and forgot to turn it off. And obviously, if that mistake would not have been caught, it could have been extremely costly by sending tens of thousands of devices around the world, connecting and communicating in all sorts of foreign nations as well, where that usage was not expected, not accounted for.
And battery drain. These things are burning their batteries before they've even reached their deployment.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
I think we can touch a little on the connectivity management as well. We've taken connectivity management a step farther as far as integrating the SIM into the module. So we have our SIM-wise capabilities where there is no physical SIM. We've actually taken the connectivity and integrated it into the module. So that's a tremendous saving. First of all, from a cost perspective, it's one less component. You're reducing your BOM. You're also having one less component to worry about, to deal with as far as any supply chain issues, or was the SIM card installed correctly? Sometimes SIM cards get installed upside down, backwards, or you're just having the wrong SIM card put in if you're dealing with more than one vendor. It's so much easier just to have the module come right out of the box and be ready to go with connectivity built in. And I think we talk a little bit more here, Adam, about device management, so I'll let you explain a little more of the capabilities here.
Yeah, of course, no problem at all. So as I alluded to before, the device management element is now critical. Once upon a time, you could throw a device out in the field and it would switch on and it would register and you could create a context and you could start bashing data back and forth to the server. There was no bandwidth problem, there was no latency issues. The network was heavily soak tested by all the mobile phones out there because it was mobile phone-led technology that we have been using for the last 20 years. Now we're in proper IoT. This is real LPWA IoT-led mobile technology, category M1 narrowband IoT, the precursor to massive machine-type communications within the 5G realm. So this technology is going to find itself in 5G. Now, the new radio element of 5G in the end is going to bring about some new capabilities, new use cases, but the 3GPP GSMA have committed that the spectrum which is currently being used by M1 and narrowband IoT will continue to be available within the 5G realm. So anything that's deployed now on M1 and narrowband will continue to function on paper. Now, how the networks upgrade, what features they implement, what new and wondrous things they decide to do with their infrastructure is going to have an enormous bearing on the device's ability to connect to the infrastructure. And in the end, you've got devices out there, and as I said before, the last thing you want to do is truck roll to them. What we need to be able to do is analyze and monitor and essentially be able to invoke whatever modifications are necessary at the edge, but from the cloud side rather than the edge side. And the device management agent that we've pre-built into our modules, these are available, by the way, in our Cat 1, Cat 4, and our LPWA, Cat M1 and narrowband devices globally. This device management agent gives you that insight without you having to code it all yourself. And it does disconnect it from the application plane, which means this can run autonomously in the background. Your application doesn't actually need to know anything's going on at all. But what it does is it gives you, as a device maker, the insights into the way that the device is behaving at the edge. You can set up triggers and alerts within the portal to be able to identify behavior which maybe is not becoming of your device. Maybe you want to alert that actually this particular behavior is occurring because it's going to kill the battery faster or because it's going to upset the network vendor, whoever that might be. But having that insight is so important, but being able to do something about that insight is even more important. And this really is where we bring about additional tools into the device management side. So it's not just a viewing screen, it's an activity screen as well. And you're able to send an AT command over a lightweight M2M object directly to the AT command parser of the modem, if you wish, if you choose to enable it, that is. And the device will react upon that AT command. So it's like having a 1,000-mile long V24 RS-232 cable, basically, to your device, in being able to send that one command you wish you could send the modem to find out what was going on. And I tell you, I've been there 1,000 times with customers where you say, well, what's the response to this AT command? And you just simply cannot send that command to the device because you're not there. You have to wait weeks or days to go on site and plug something in, and it all gets very messy. So being able to do this remotely is incredibly powerful. On top of that, being able to instigate change in the nature by which the device communicates. Maybe the network vendor brings out a new power save mode timer or EDRX timer, or maybe there's a new feature on the infrastructure which you want to take advantage of, which requires a subtly different setting in the modem. We have a connection agent inside the devices, which sole purpose is to ensure the device remains connected to the infrastructure. And we've built a lightweight M2M object to be able to influence the key variables of that connection agent, meaning you can then instigate a device's switch from 2G to Cat M1 to narrowband IoT. You can change power save mode timers, EDRX timers. You can even change APN credentials if you really want to. And this can all be done from the cloud side and propagated down to the device post-deployment. And it's completely independent of the application plane. If you want your application data to continue going to Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud, or wherever that goes, that's perfectly fine. this is about how the modem stays connected to the infrastructure. And we've created a device management package for our One Edge, which has got a slightly more restricted use case capability from a number of messages and how much history and how much storage. But actually, the cost of implementation is insignificant versus not doing anything about this. So, talk to us about this. This is key stuff. So, on the next slide, I spoke about how the application plane is separated from the device management plane, and you can see the drawing here. You can see the existing sensor application data channel running from the device at the edge, the modem at the edge, through to whatever cloud-based service is in use. And of course, you don't have to touch that if you don't want to. If you want to keep that running exactly as it is, that's perfectly fine. What we've developed here is a TLS-led UDP, so co-op authenticated UDP control plane management service to our cloud platform. And once this information is in our cloud platform, you can, if you choose, push it to any of these cloud-based services as well. There's no limitation here. So we're not replacing the cloud service. What we're doing is we're acting as an interconnect between the limited and limiting nature of this new LPWA technology from a communication standpoint and making it compatible with the enterprise-grade cloud service providers that you've been using for the last 2 decades. So here's another way of essentially saying the same thing. So application data, you've been using MQTT for however long. You may wish to send MQTT data as you have been from our modem through to the AWS service. Of course, MQTT is based on TCP communications. And, the client might come to me and say, Adam, I need a 12 megabyte bundle of data for my SIM. And, I'd say to them, well, why do you need 12 megs? Most connectivity vendors would say, rub their hands together with glee and say 12 megs, no problem at all, Mr. Customer. Let me see what I can do for you. I'm more of the opinion is why do you need 12 megabytes? Is this an IoT application? And just drill down a little bit as to why that's necessary. And, just maybe there's a better way of doing, essentially what's been done for the last 2 decades using slightly more modern communications protocols. And you can see here that actually the application data channel flow could go via the MQTT route like it always has, or you could pass not the MQTT, but pass the same data packages, the same object-oriented datagrams pertaining to your edge application over lightweight M2M to our server, and then use an API to push that to AWS. So it ends up in the same place, but actually what you've done is you've probably burned about 40% less data than you would have done doing it this way. And in the end, that can be fundamentally important for applications from a power and cost and longevity perspective. If you can make your battery last an extra couple of years because you do it this way rather than that way, it can have massive ramifications outside of the obvious cost saving from a connectivity standpoint. So if we talk a bit about the One Edge with connectivity, and by the way, One Edge can be used with any connectivity vendor. It's not fundamentally important that you use Next, although Sean would prefer it if you use Next, of course. When you have a device at the edge, which requires some kind of cloud-based instantaneous communication. So this is real time. Take a central heating system, a bit like Hive, for instance, where maybe you have a mobile app which is connecting through to a cloud portal and you want to turn your central heating on. Clearly, if you send the message to turn the central heating on and it has to wait for the device to next check in, which might be on a 2-hour schedule, you're not going to be very happy because you'll be home by then, your house won't be very hot and nobody's very pleased. That kind of application does require what is known as real-time or near real-time edge capability. Now, traditionally, what you need to do at the edge is send a keep alive message. And the keep alive message is designed to overcome the timeout on the server. So the MQTT server typically requires something like a keep alive message every 30 seconds, something like that. And it also overcomes the network address translation layer issue with the IP address assigned to the device. So of course you could say, well, actually I could do a private IP address solution, I could pay for a VPN, and then all I need to do is worry about the MQTT server keeper lives. And there's many, many ways to skin a cat, as they say in this game. However, what we've done is we've approached it slightly differently because we have a network core. So we have a Telit Next network core, and we have our own cloud service, OneEdge. What we've done is created a direct link, and we called it OneEdge Direct, a direct link between OneEdge and the Telit Next core. Now, what this does is it bypasses the NAT and firewall elements, and because it's lightweight M2M and not MQTT, you no longer need to send the keeper lives. This means that you can have a device at the edge, and we have customers actively using this now. They were friendly user trial lead customers for this. Customers actively using this now, where they needed a solution where the device needs to have near instantaneous reaction to a cloud-based event. And we've managed to achieve this, and I'll show you the maths in a very, very lean way. So, as we said before, the keep alive message is the killer here. And actually, the payload, including overhead and acknowledgement, is 137 bytes, and it needs to be sent twice a minute. So basically, the rough maths here, if we talk about how much data is just being sent to keep the connection alive, to facilitate this real-time communication at the edge, it's about 12 megabytes a month. And this comes straight back to the customer asking me for a 12 meg bundle. And actually, the application data is insignificant. It's probably a couple of 100 bytes a month, but it's the keeper lives that are burning the data, burning the batteries. So maybe there is a better way of doing things than necessarily what's being done today. And this is really where we can come into our own as not just the module, not just connectivity, but also the cloud vendor, bring all three elements together and come up with something which is truly unique in the marketplace, which in the end is going to save an absolute packet on data consumption and cost and batteries. And in the end, the user experience is exactly the same as it would have been at a fraction of the cost. I'm going to hand back to Sean now. He's going to tell you a little bit about the connectivity.
Adam, I don't think we even have enough time for me to talk about all the capabilities of Telit Next and how tremendous it's really become. But Telit Next now has been up and running for some time, our own network, and we're incredibly proud of it. Its capabilities, starting with the partnerships that we have and the footprint that we've built, well over 200 countries and territories, many hundreds of operators, and these numbers just continue to grow really nonstop. We're just continuing to grow that footprint more and more. And what we did with the network, first of all, is, unlike others, we're not the first to have our own network, but what is unique here is we've started and finished with IoT in mind. So everything about this network is IoT. And that's obviously at Telit what we live and breathe. So IoT for some is a little bit more of an afterthought or just an option that they have available. Their understanding is not the same. Their focus is not the same. So from everything, we talk about cost, obviously, because more and more IoT applications are becoming global. And in some cases, it's just companies who want to deploy and have their product all over their world. It might be a fixed asset, but very frequently, it's also a mobile asset. It's something that is moving, sometimes moving quite quickly. Sometimes it just occasionally transfers from one location to another. Either way, we're covered. And offering, obviously, attractive pricing and various models to make sure, be it a prepaid model, pay-per-use, or just pooled bundles, whatever is most convenient and most conducive to our customers' application. There's all sorts of additional factors that we've considered. So again, the technology itself, the cellular technology, and again, this differs by territory and by operator, but from 2G, 3G, 4G, LTM, narrowband IoT, where it's available, we have it available. We're every month gaining more and more partners, more technologies as they become available and are launching. We're making it a point to be there and be there for our customers to help them grow their footprints. And that's something that I think is very helpful in general. It's just been Telit's mantra almost, is we're not just concerned with what's going on today. We're very much concerned with how does this affect us tomorrow? Where are our partners going to be tomorrow? What's important for them tomorrow and the day after that? And with our own network, we have so much more flexibility to make sure what's important to our customers is important to us. We're no longer just reliant on an operator who maybe has a network and has a little bit of IoT business. But again, this is a network that is just all IoT, A to Z. As far as the SIM technologies as well, be it an EUICC capable SIM. I've obviously mentioned previously our SIMWise, our integrated SIM, where there is no SIM. The module itself has the connectivity built in right out of the box. So there's a lot of options when it comes to, of course, the standard various form factors, industrial SIMs, chip SIMs are of course available as well. And then we package it up, if you will, on the outside, bundle it all together with our CMP, our connectivity management platform. And that's where you can just see everything. You can drill down SIM by SIM, ICC ID by ICC ID. You see where is the SIM, what network is it connected to, what is that SIM doing. You really get a snapshot and a single pane of glass. It doesn't matter how many SIMs you have, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands scattered around the world, connecting to so many different operators. You have one login, you come to one place, and you can see everything, understand everything. That data, that analytics, that's key to being able to have that insight, really, that allows you to make such intelligent decisions about your business and about your devices. So I mentioned that, of course, we have that tremendous footprint. In addition to the footprint geographically, we've also made it a point to have our network be geo-redundant. And that's not just in more than one location, it's with more than one technology. So we have multiple physical sites around the world, as well as AWS cloud sites, to make sure that our network keeps you connected. We have a lot of partners who rely on us, healthcare, security, just very important solutions, even if it's point of sale applications. Your application, your solution is not connecting, that's revenue being lost. So we understand that there are so many different applications that are dependent on us, and we want to make sure that that network is staying active and staying alive for you. Access or APNs, VPNs, just any of the access services, we've made it a point to have an incredibly really robust catalog of different options to suit everyone's need, to make sure that you have industry-leading VPNs if that's what you need, if it's a private APN. We also have all sorts of features that we've built in. IMEI lock is one that's just become very popular. And it's funny, I mentioned iSeal and container tracking. That's a perfect example where you could have a container moving along. If someone were to pluck that SIM card out right off the device and try to stream some Netflix for themselves, that could definitely be an issue for you. But using IMEI lock, the system will actually recognize that's not the IMEI that I was installed into. The SIM knows this is not where I should be. And you can have these intelligent triggers to alert you and immediately stop the flow of data, so you don't get that unwanted usage from someone stealing your physical solution. And of course, with the platform, I've mentioned already, just the monitoring, the analytics. Really, the more you know, the more you measure, the better you can manage, and that's really what it comes down to. So we try to give you as much flexibility and insight into your solution. Adam, you said it at the beginning. What you do best is whatever it is that you're doing. If you're building tanks, let us worry about the monitoring. Right? Whatever it is you're doing, focus on what you do best, and let us at Telit help make sure that we're supporting that. We're allowing you to focus on your customers. Let us make sure that you have the best solution, that you're notified if it's through triggers, if it's through the different analytics we offer. We also are billing. We have features like our Optimus, which is an incredibly intelligent billing feature offering retroactive rate plan management. And that's something that's completely automated. We've touched the global support before, but I think you can't talk about it enough. Having the 24/7, 365 support, we have really some of the brightest people stretched all around the world. So it doesn't matter what time zone you need. We understand that your solutions are always alive, and we want to make sure our support is always there to support you. So whenever you need it, wherever you need it, we also really benefit from the fact that we have individuals around the world, meaning they're very familiar, even locally, with what's happening in the market, with the trends, not just from the commercial or the sales side, but on the technical side. They understand the networks. They're used to it. They know the pros and cons and the dirty little secrets, if you will, of the various networks around them. So they can help troubleshoot really better than anyone. But we continue to grow our Telit Next offering more and more, and one of the newest additions is Telit Next Plus. So having UICC capabilities is really a game changer for many industries. There's different challenges that you may be facing, and until now, with the multiple profile approach that we've had, it's been able to help so many. But there are times when you want to have a certain quality of coverage. It could be a cost question, different technology requirements, and when using EUICC, you can really best take advantage in certain scenarios. Meaning, if you need to deploy one device into different territories and you'd like to have that on a specific network natively, we can help make that happen. There are, at times, roaming restrictions, which may apply from the network or regulatory governmental body. And having a SIM just roaming as a short-term solution may be fine, but for a more permanent solution, that might not work. Using EUICC capabilities, though, we can make sure that that SIM card has a local profile and is actually connecting to a native network where it's deployed. It's something that we're very proud of. Like I said, it's not for everyone. For those who need it, though, being able to have this, to offer it, is very exciting, I know, for many of our customers. And I think it's just another one of the many tools in the Telit Next toolbox that continues to expand. Amanda, I think that's everything from our side.
Yep, thank you so much to both of you. Some really good information here. Audience, before we get to the questions, I am going to drop just one last poll on your screen here. If you'd like to have one of our experts contact you directly, please just respond here on the poll and we will be sure to get someone to reach out to you. We do have a few minutes for questions here, and there's still time to ask a question, so please feel free to submit using that box to the right of the slides here, and we will do our best to cover it in the time that we've got left. I've had quite a few come through, so if you guys are ready, we're just going to dive right in here. The first question I've got, I am looking for a network-certified 4G cellular modules for use in Argentina for a mobile asset tracking application. What is the best resource to determine module certifications by country or carrier?
Okay, I'll take that one. So obviously this client wants to focus on Argentina, but we can kind of make this more broad spectrum for the wider audience as well. So I guess we have to look at the question itself. So 4G module, do they mean Cat 1? Are they looking at M1? Are they looking at narrowband IoT? All of those technologies fall within the 4G spec. So what we have to do is we have to drill a little bit more detail out of that. And what we need to understand is the client hoping to use Cat M1 or narrowband? And in Argentina, I don't know personally the status of the networks, but we have colleagues in Latin America. We've got Eric and we've got Days in Latin America who can help out locally with understanding what the network capability is. I know for a fact we've got at least 2 modules in our 910 portfolio which are approved and ready to go in Latin America specifically for Cat 1 and Cat 4. We have already M1 and narrowband devices ready to go there as well if the network is ready and prepared where the customer wants to deploy. So I think on a region by region basis, you should take comfort from the fact that we have a broad portfolio of devices and we have lots and lots of regional specialists who are here to help and help guide you through it. We have a centralized global certifications team out of Trieste in Italy. These guys are on hand to help you through the local regulatory approvals minefield that you may face with your device, be it a local device type approval or a network regulatory approval, however that sits. And even our pre-compliance labs in Trieste are set up to be able to give you that peace of mind through schematic and layout reviews, and then ultimately pre-compliance lab testing itself, using our extensive range of lab equipment, which is audited and calibrated. So we're not a notified body, but we are an accredited test house. So we can't rubber stamp, but what we can do is help get you to the point where your device is ready to be put through an official notified body and deployed in the marketplace.
Great, thanks, Adam. Next question. It looks like this was a quote pulled out of the webinar abstract here, so I'll read that to you. Partnering with an IoT module and connectivity leader compliant with global industry standards and certification requirements can speed time to development and market. So the question there is, based on your study of existing clients, what has the timeline been in regards to development to market based on the above referenced quote?
Sure, I can answer this one.
Yeah, go for it, Sean.
I think to put an exact number of days, weeks, months, years would be a little bit difficult, but not too helpful, because there's a lot of factors. There are some that Telit can influence, and there are others that just have nothing to do with Telit or any of the IoT components. Bringing something to market can be done in a matter of months. It can take, in some cases, we've seen customers work for years just to bring a single solution to market. Like I said, there's so many things they may be considering, and what their standards may be, or other challenges, be it regulatory challenges or just certain goals of capabilities for the device. But when it comes to the IoT component, what I can say is, without a doubt, when dealing with Telit, the timeline will be much shorter and less expensive. And that's not specific to Telit's prices per se, less expensive in the sense of we'll save you money because we'll save you mistakes. That, I think, is the true value here, and the difference in timeline. It's the know-how. It's the fact that we're taking decades of know-how with a tremendous team spread around the world. Like I mentioned before, we have individuals who understand their local markets. When it comes to technology, we have leading experts on the different technologies. If we're talking from the hardware side, be it the connectivity component, even from our platform. There are just so many ways that we can help you, especially, again, if you're bundling and if you're working with Telit really early on, we can work with you to make the right decision the first time around. And that's the difference in the timeline, is bringing a product to market. You may make, I don't say the wrong, but not the best decisions in choosing a certain technology because you're not aware of choosing technology X has, Y reasons behind it that may not be in your best interest. And you may not know what those reasons are. You may not be aware of the downside and why different technologies exist. Or if you have certain expectations for certain capabilities, you may not realize that you're actually shooting yourself in the foot by making a certain decision because you thought one thing and you didn't consider things because these were things you just didn't know about. And obviously you can't consider things that you're not aware of. So I think that's where we bring the real value, is being able to, at any stage, but preferably as early as possible, work with our partners and help you make the right decisions every step of the way. And those decisions will, again, save you a tremendous amount of time by making the right decision the first time around. It can save you a tremendous amount of money, again, both in potentially avoiding mistakes, but also just making the right decisions, not knowing that some of the ideas you have may not be in your best interest. And we've worked with so many companies over the years. We have so much experience, and I think, like everything in life, if practice makes perfect, then we have a tremendous amount of practice, and all over the world, in every technology, in so many different applications. So when we can bring that and couple it with the great ideas that our partners have, you end up with a tremendous product coming to market faster, less expensive, more efficient in every way.
Great, thanks, Sean. Next question I have here, and I know you guys have touched on this multiple times, so maybe this can be a quick one. What is the main advantage of Telit's solution presented in this webinar against other MVNOs and MNOs?
It kind of comes back to my comment. I'll make a first comment, and Sean can say something as well. So it kind of comes back to my first comment, where if you go to a traditional MVNO or MNO and you say, you've got an idea about the application and maybe you're picking your connectivity as the last thing, and you go to, you know how much data you want, it's 4 meg a month. Or maybe you don't know how much data you want and you're making a wild guess about how much data you need. We ask the why. I won't just blindly send you a quotation for 4 megabytes a month. It'll be why do you need 4 megabytes a month? And just open up the conversation a little bit. And in the end, it may well be 4 megabytes is exactly the right number. But in the end, it may well be that there might be a slightly better way of doing it. And, we are a team of technologists. We are geeks and nerds. We absolutely love this stuff. And if there is a better, lower cost way of achieving what it is you want to achieve, then we will help consult on your project, essentially free of charge. In the end, the intent is that you'll use our product, but the reality is any of the things that we present, you could go away and do yourself, okay? What we're doing is we're consolidating it into one place that you can come and talk to somebody about your application and just use them as a sounding board. So whether it's cloud platform, whether it's the right modem technology or the SIM, what differentiates us is that we can talk about everything knowledgeably, not just one element of it.
Adam, I think it's spot on. The amount that we know collectively, not personally, but as a company, the amount that we know, the amount that we've seen over the years, not everything that Telit does is so unique that only Telit does it. We did not invent the SIM card. We did not invent connectivity. But what we've been able to do, first of all, bundling, I have to say, that's what we talked about in this webinar. That in and of itself, and hopefully through the slides that we presented just now, was able to help answer some of that question. Not everyone can bundle. And in fact, really there's no one doing what we're doing to the extent we're doing it when it comes to bundling. And it's not just the connectivity plus the hardware, it's the hardware, the connectivity, the platform. Bundling all that together, the strength is just incredible. But I think also our experience speaks for itself. Anyone could go and open a company and try to provide connectivity services, for example. But there's also a difference between someone selling you connectivity services and a company like Telit, who's been doing it for so long. We've seen the challenges. We know what it takes to manage millions of SIM cards. We know what it means when a technology sunset occurs and how to help our customers transition. Sunset alone, it's a huge topic. What happens when a customer has hundreds of thousands plus units deployed, and that technology, recently in the US, a major one was AT&T sunsetting their 3G network. That was significant. That affected a lot of applications, a lot of customers. Knowing how to manage that, first of all, the relationships we have with the mobile network operators around the world. So the communications that we get from them, the insight, and if you will, even the early warning, we make sure that we share that with our customers. we're not here just to, like Adam said, provide a quote or answer a question. We're going to come with questions because we want to ask the questions that we know are relevant that maybe you haven't even thought of yet, or question to make sure that you're doing what's in your best interest. So I think that in a nutshell is really what separates Telit. It's not that no one else has ever thought of providing a SIM card, but the way we do it, the experience we have with it, and then how we've been able to bundle our different products and services together, leveraging them with each other, is really what brings it to the next level.
Great, thank you both. We are running up on time here, but I do have quite a few more questions coming in, so I want to take just a couple more of these as we finish up here. Is Telit One Edge available on all Telit modules?
So it's not available on every single module. It's very reliant on that trust zone, the public-private key exchange element. But what I can say is we have global Cat1, Cat4, Cat M1 narrowband with or without 2G fallback devices that all support One Edge. So from a globalization and technology standpoint, the quick answer is yes, we have a global solution, multiple global solutions and regional solutions which support One Edge.
Great, thanks, Adam. Last question we're going to cover. What technologies is One Edge utilizing or offering to optimize quality of service for IoT? In particular, like how does utilizing this impact latency sensitive applications?
Yeah, so I think I probably answered this in the main body of the presentation. Basically, what we're doing is we have been for the last couple of years now assisting clients with the migration from legacy 2G and 3G applications to newer Cat-M and narrowband IoT. And of course, one of the biggest challenges there is the latency. On paper, narrowband IoT is the greatest thing since sliced bread. In practice, there are some hurdles that must be overcome, and there are far, far more elements in play than were ever present with 2G technology, not least the way the networks are evolving. So how does One Edge do it? It uses UDP rather than TCP. We leverage the trust zone, so there's a public key exchange element, and what we're able to do is employ co-op authentication using datagram transportation layer security, DTLS. And this basically means we have an incredibly secure and yet still lightweight communications, which has no acknowledgement requirement, meaning that you don't suffer the same latency ACNAC scenario that you would face with a TCP connection when you're using narrowband IoT in coverage enhancement class 2. It makes it far, far more resilient to the high latency expected on those kinds of networks. And that's basically how it works. And then combined with the object-oriented communication standard for either device management or even application layer data as well. What you do is you essentially transmit the delta of what's changed rather than the whole data packet. And what this does is ultimately reduce the amount of data that you're transferring over the link, meaning you're burning less batteries as well. So it's kind of a win-win-win. And in the end, it requires at the front end some re-architecting on the customer side, but at the cloud end, we can push that data once it's in One Edge. We can push that data to any enterprise cloud service that you desire. There are APIs pre-built to be able to do pushing out to Azure or AWS or Google or Oracle or SAP HANA or whoever it might be that your current business system uses. So, like I say, it's like a Swiss Army knife basically for IoT. We're basically providing that connector to be able to get the data from the edge up to the cloud via these new infrastructures.
Thanks, Adam. I believe that's all the time that we have got for today. I know that there were quite a few questions that we did not get to, so we will be sure to follow up with you individually. Please be sure to check your inboxes in the coming days for the replay link and a few other resources. Thank you, Adam and Sean, for the great information today, and thank you to all who joined us.